After 4 days in St. Louis, the Phillies head back into the National League East. And for the first time this year, they head to Miami to Marlins Park, where they begin a 3-game series against the red-hot Miami Marlins. They've won 10 of the last 11 games and now 3 games over 500, just like the Phillies. Now, the National League East as a whole has been pretty darn good so far this year. Washington has already lost today to the Chicago Cubs, so they're a game up over the New York Mets, who are 17-10. And then the Phillies and the Marlins are separated by just percentage points in third place. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom McCarthy, joined by Matt Stairs. Well, the Phils and the Marlins get together for the first time of what will be many matchups here in 2016. And Pete McCadden said before the ball game today, Matt, that they've got to get Maikel Franco going.
They really do. They need to get Maikel Franco back to the way he was swinging the bat in spring training, and that is by taking a nice, easy swing and using every part of the field and not becoming a pull hitter. In spring training, he was swinging the bat so well. He knew he had the power to hit the ball the opposite field for home run. Here, this is a tremendous, nice, easy swing. He drives the ball to the ballpark. Now, all of a sudden, he goes to Milwaukee, hits a missile back up the middle. Now, he's been working the middle. He's hitting the ball to right field. He's been getting into trouble the last 7 games by trying to pull the ball way too much. Here's a fastball inside. Now, all of a sudden, as a hitter, you start thinking, I need to stay up the middle. You forget about swinging the bat. You get jammed. Now, all of a sudden, I'm going to leave a little early. I'm not staying on top of the baseball. I'm not staying through the baseball, and I hit a weak ground ball back to the pitcher. So, it's simple. Back it up a little bit, take a nice, easy swing, think about hitting the ball left center, right center, and don't overswing.
Hasn't struck out an awful lot during those 7 games, just 4 times, but a lot of those tappers back to the box that we just saw. They hope that they, with early hitting today, have got him rolling. He is back in the lineup today, and he is protecting Darren Ruff, who's playing first base for the Phils. Well, the starting pitching matchup for today, Vince Velasquez making his 6th start of the year. Wei-Yin Chen will make the start for the Marlins. Now, he pitched a fantastic game last year against the Phillies while a member of the Baltimore Orioles. Will the Phils be able to quiet this Marlins offense? Well, power-wise, they're led by Giancarlo Stanton. 6 home runs in his last 10 games. We'll talk about Stanton's power when we return. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. By Toyota. Get a great deal on your favorite Toyota during the Toyota Time Sales Event. Toyota, let's go places. By Citizens Bank. The next time you have a question about money, don't keep it to yourself. Ask a citizen. And by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Learn more at IBX.com. Getting ready for tonight's ball game. Both starting pitchers with very different styles. The right-hander Velasquez and the left-hander Chen. Well, one guy we know that Velasquez has to deal with and the Phils will have to deal with this weekend for the rest of the season as long as he stays healthy, which was an issue last year, is Giancarlo Stanton, who seems to be finding his power stroke over the last 10 days.
Well, he's found the swing over the last 10 days and why pitchers are thrown to this guy when he is hot, because he's one of the hottest hitters in baseball. And when he gets hot, he drives the ball to the ballpark anywhere. It does not matter, left field, right field. Here against the Dodgers, crushes the ball to right field. By the way, in this series, he actually hit one out of the stadium. So he's getting locked in. He's hitting mistakes. One thing you cannot do is throw this guy the same pitch twice. Because if you do, this is what happens. He's crushing balls to center field. So when he is hot, he's swinging the bat very well. I would like to see some fastballs inside, keep him off balance, and maybe start mixing in some breaking balls.
All right, since the 24th of April, which was that Dodgers series, which they wound up sweeping, he's hitting .400 with 6 home runs and 12 RBIs. He has scored 9 runs, and his on-base percentage is well over 500. So he is a baseball problem. Fans are getting their last bit of food before they settle in for the first pitch. We'll get to that and the lineups when we return to Marlins Park. Coach Don Mattingly, the manager of the Miami Marlins. Dan Iasonia is the home plate umpire. He is not the crew chief of this umpiring crew. It is Dale Scott. They've got to get a photo. I mean, there's got to be a keepsake for the honorary manager and honorary bat boy who joined Don Mattingly out toward the coaches or to the batter's box. The roof is open here at Marlins Park, which is a shocker. It's very rarely open when we are here, but it's going to be beautiful this entire weekend. So keep your fingers crossed that we'll have baseball outside this entire weekend here in South Florida. The Phils back in the division, back in the National League East. Pete Mackanin, after his team lost 3 of 4 to the St. Louis Cardinals, has changed up his lineup again to face the left-hander Wei-Yin Chen, who last year, Matt, he totally mesmerized the Phils offense.
He did. He pretty much dominated. He made some unbelievable pitches. Very impressed with the movement on his changeup and his fastball. He had a good breaking ball that day. But really, he was keeping our hitters off balance. Franco hitting a weak ground ball to first for the 1-6-3 double play. Again, you need to back it up a little bit, sit on a certain pitch, get the ball elevated. You can see right there he has a tremendous changeup. And that's what he tries to do. He tries to live on the edge and just dive off the end and try to get you swing and miss.
Fastball will be about 90 miles an hour here tonight. That game, 8 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs. What did he earn because of that? A demotion down to the minor leagues.
Tough league, Tom.
Yeah, he went to single A after that. They hit him for a couple of starts. Let's take a look at the Phillies lineup. It's brought to you by Xfinity. The new Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. It'll be Herrera, Hernandez, and Franco, followed by Darren Ruff playing first base again and Freddie Galvis at shortstop. Cameron Rupp will bat 6th in the bottom third of Goodell. Velasquez, the pitcher, batting 8th, and batting 9th and playing right field is Peter Borges. And here is the 30-year-old who signed an incredible contract considering he's 48 233 lifetime. He's 2-1 this season, a 4.26 ERA. Matt, his last 2 decisions have been wins in his last 2 outings. He's given up some runs, but he's kept this Marlins team in games, and they've been scoring a lot of runs.
Well, I think the reason why is that if you look at the scouting report, he's up to 92 miles an hour with his fastball. He used to sit right around 90 miles an hour. He's been using his changeup a lot more than he has in the past, plus his curveball. He's a 4-pitch pitcher. Fastball he'll use 62%, and a curveball, slider, and change 12, 11, and 13%.
Well, he has finished up his warm-up tosses. Odubel Herrera is about to head to the plate. And our weekend in South Florida is about to get underway between the Phils and the Marlins. Both teams come in 3 games over 500. The Marlins are just a percentage point or 2 ahead of the Phillies in the division, which is led by the Nationals. As we told you during the outset, the Nats have already lost to the Chicago Cubs. So now Odubel Herrera, who was the only one that really hit consistently against the Cardinals. He was 6 of 15. And that included a home run, overall hitting .316. And the first pitch of the night from Chen is just outside. We're underway. It's 1 ball and no strikes. Odubel Herrera will walk 19% of the time, which is among the leaders in all of Major League Baseball. Outside again, 2 balls, no strikes.
Kind of like this camera angle. It's right over top. Gives you a perfect view of home plate. Inside outfield strikes.
Swings at the 2-0 pitch and fouls it. It's 2 balls and 1 strike. That may have gotten a piece of the home plate umpire. Dan Iasonia is behind the plate. Dale Scott, the crew chief, is at first. Bob Davidson is at second. And Lance Barrett is around at third. I have to admit, every time I see Bob Davidson's name and I say it, I have to stop myself from saying balking Bob Davidson. There's a line drive base hit to center field for Odubel Herrera. And he starts the ball game by extending his hitting streak to 5 consecutive games. Time now, Matt, for the Nissan keys to tonight's ball game.
Well, I'm going to keep it very simple tonight, and it's going to be that the Phillies hitters have to be more patient, which will lead to better at-bats. You get a 1-0 pitch does not mean you have to swing at the next pitch. The 2-0 fastball, set it in an area, set it on a tee where you want for strength. But I just find that in the St. Louis series, they swung at a lot of pitchers' pitches and had a lot of weak ground balls and a lot of broken bats. And not broken bats from being jammed from off the end of the bat, which tells me they're trying to do too much or trying to pull the wrong pitch.
What were we told the final number of broken bats were the other day? Was it 5?
6.
6. It's a lot of broken bats.
Expensive day.
Cesar Hernandez, a .261 hitter, back in the number 2 spot. And the first pitch to Cesar, taken inside, 1 ball and no strikes. Cesar was 3 for 13 in the series against the Cardinals. That one's popped up first base side. Second baseman Derek Dietrich is there, and he makes the catch. 1 away. Well, the goal was to see some more fastballs for Cesar Hernandez, and well, he just missed that one. And now with 1 out, Maikel Franco will come to the plate.
He missed it, but is this his strength? Is this an area where he's looking? It's down and in. That's not a pitch to me that I think that's his strength. Yes, I know he's in the 2-hole. He wants to get some more pitches to hit. But still swing at the pitch that you need to hit for power-wise.
Here's Franco, and Franco fouls the first pitch off to the right and out of play. Maikel 1 for 10 in the series against the Cardinals. And that's a good point too, Matt, about Cesar in that spot, because he's probably going to get his pitch at some point during that at-bat, particularly when he's working ahead.
Well, especially when you have a guy on first base, Odubel Herrera, with speed. Yeah, it's great you're going to get a fastball, but if it's a pitcher's fastball, I just don't think that's his strength. If you ask him where his strength is, he wants the ball up a little bit as a right-handed hitter. As a left-handed hitter, he wants the ball down. Yes, I would agree with that. But just the fact that you're hitting in the second spot in the lineup and you see a fastball, don't panic and think you have to hit it.
No balls and 2 strikes to Franco. Outside, 1-2. Good luck at McDonald's Phillies home run jackpot contestant is Ellen Leslie of Sinking Spring. Phillies hit a home run at today's ball game. Then Ellen will win $200.
I have a feeling that Ellen's going to win $200 today.
All right. I like that feeling. There's a liner out toward left field. Yelich will make the catch. And back to first goes Herrera. Matt, not that we want to analyze every swing that Maikel Franco takes, but
3 for 3. 3 for 3.
Really?
3 good swings.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. It looked like he took 3 good swings. Those 2 balls he fouled off, I mean, those were good swings. And this was a good one, too.
It is. He was out in front of it a little bit, but what I liked about it is that the angle of the barrel coming down to the baseball. Breaking pitch, he keeps, as I always say, he smells the baseball. Means he stays over top of it, he sees it, and he reacts to it.
Darren Ruff is now the batter with a runner at first. Ruff takes inside 1-0. Darren 0 for 10 in the series against the Cardinals. Pete said there's a lot of guys we got to get going, but Darren Ruff we've got to get him going some way, shape, or form. Trying to find the same kind of rhythm he had during spring training. There's a liner out to center field. That'll be in for a base hit. And Odubel will stop at seconds.
That's a good start, hitting a laser up the middle.
In his defense, he did hit a couple balls hard in the St. Louis series. He hit some that weren't hard, but some in the St. Louis series that were hit hard.
I found in the St. Louis series, Darren struck out a few times because he went out of the strike zone. He was hitting a lot of fastballs, got pitched. And the scouting report, even though he hasn't played a lot, he still has a scouting report saying he is a very good fastball hitter.
Freddie Galvis now the batter, batting 5th here tonight. Galvis has hit an 8 straight against the Marlins, and he hopes to continue that in this at-bat. And it's 1 ball and no strikes. Overall hitting .229, 3 home runs, 13 runs batted in. Softly to shortstop, charging is Rojas. And his throw to first is in time. Side is retired. No runs, 2 hits, and 2 men left. We'll head to the bottom of the first. Phillies nothing, and the Marlins coming up. Don Mattingly in his first year as the skipper of the Miami Marlins after being the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Let's take a look at his starting lineup. It's brought to you by Xfinity. The new Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Real Muto leads it off at catcher. Martin Prado bats second. Christian Yelich will hit third, followed by Stanton, and then Dietrich, the number 5 hitter. Marcell Ozuna's in center. He'll bat 6th. And then it's Johnson, the first baseman, Rojas, the shortstop for today. and Chen, the pitcher. And they'll face right-hander Vince Velasquez, who has finished up his warm-up tosses, gathering his thoughts for a moment, putting LA's initials in the back of the mound, which he said he was going to do today in honor of Larry Anderson's birthday. 4-1 with an ERA of 1.44. 39 strikeouts in 31 of the third. Real Muto will lead it off. And he takes just below the knees. It's 1-0.
Take a look at the scouting report. Average velocity 94 miles an hour, and he throws his fastball 72.4% of the time and his curveball 18% of the time.
Popped him up first base. Darren Ruff comes trotting in. He says he has it. 2 pitches, 1 away. Real Muto batting leadoff because of the suspension of D. Gordon. Don Mattingly doesn't really have a leadoff hitter, with Gordon being out for the next about 70 more games. Martin Prado will be the batter, and he's a heck of a story this year. Prado's hitting .374. He is third in the league in hitting. Daniel Murphy went back over the 400 mark today with his 4 hits against the Cubs. First pitch just below the knees again. 1 ball and no strikes. Prado has multi-hit games in 5 of his last 8. There's a line drive to left center field, and that's going to be an extra base hit. It's going to kick up some sand and go all the way to the scoreboard. Prado is at second base, and he'll stop there. Well, 1-out double for the veteran. 5 doubles on the year. It's going to be interesting to see how Velasquez approaches these Marlins, because they are a fastball hitting team.
Well, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Marlins approach Velasquez. The big question is, who has the advantage, the pitcher or the hitter, when you face a guy that you've never faced before? And I would say the first time through the order, it would be the pitcher, because hitters can make the adjustment very, very quickly on a fastball, or get a good read on how his ball is moving, his wind up, everything.
Christian Yelich, he's been hot. .330 hitter. But you don't expect Velasquez to make any kind of adjustments to his game plan early on, right?
Not early. I would say not early, especially first time through the order.
You mentioned he's above 70% of the time throwing fastballs. Last time out, he threw his fastball 78% of the time, but that was probably a different team than this one. That was the Cleveland Indians the last time out.
Yeah, and he didn't have a very good fastball last game, I didn't think. He didn't have that average about 94. He was throwing 91, 92. He'd pop at 95 once in a while.
Those are his numbers from the Indians' game. 6 strikeouts in 6 innings.
And with the way the game's going now, with all the video, I don't really think. I think what you do is you get a chance to see the guy's arm slot, where it's coming out of. You still can't time video. That's why you see a lot of guys like Mike Stanton right now on deck is timing Vince's fastball. He's sitting there getting in his hitting stance. That's what you're supposed to do on deck. Giancarlo, not Mike.
I've said it, Mike, more often this year than I think I've had the last couple of years.
Mr. Stanton.
2 balls and no strikes to Yelich with a runner at second. And a high fly ball deep to right center field, and that one is gone into the second deck. That is a monster home run, the 4th home run of the year for Christian Yelich, and the Marlins take a 2-0 lead. That is a big-time bomb right there. So 2-0 Miami.
That's loud, and that is a blast to right location. Inside.
Well, that's the 3rd home run allowed by Velasquez this year. And he throws a breaking ball to Giancarlo Stanton, and it's 0-1. Yelich is a good hitter. Another breaking ball, and that's back to the mound. Velasquez has it. 2 away.
Well, you asked the question earlier about Vince is changing his approach towards hitting, towards the hitters. Double home run, back-to-back off-speed pitches.
And you don't think that's just the approach to Stanton, right? You think that's the off the home run?
I don't think so. I mean, this is the pitch that you can see. That's a four-seam fastball grip. Now, location-wise is fine as long as you hit your spots. But the big leagues, it doesn't matter how hard you throw. It seems like nowadays.
It's true.
You make a mistake, guys, you're going to make you pay.
Derek Dietrich takes a fastball first strike. It's 0-1. Marlins over the last week of games, which is all part of their winning streak, have led the National League in home runs. That's their 14th. Quickly it's 0-2 to Dietrich. And by the way, those are 2 good fastballs that he just threw that Dietrich took. Marlins during the stretch, they began 5-11 and now 10-1 since the 24th, averaging just under 5 runs per game. They've increased that over the last week. The last 6 games, they're averaging over 6 runs per ball game.
And when did Stanton get hot? April 24th?
Yep, just when this streak started. That was the sweep at the Dodgers. 0-2 pitch coming to Dietrich. And he got him. Foul tip hung on to by Rupp. First strikeout for Vince Velasquez. So Christian Yelich gives the Marlins a 2-0 lead with his 4th home run of the season. This is a bomb into the second deck in right center field. We'll head to the second. It's 2-zip. Miami's on top. At Citizens Bank Park, groups of 25 or more, plenty of benefits and special options, special fundraising opportunities, and a great way to raise funds and awareness. For more information, go to Phillies.com/group tickets. We go to the top of the second. Cameron Rupp, Tyler Goodell, and Vince Velasquez against the left-hander Wei-Yin Chen, who was signed as a free agent this past offseason by the Marlins. That ball is drilled right back through the middle. And Cameron Rupp has a leadoff single here in the second. Nice way to start after you give up 2 runs at the bottom of the first. Get a base runner right away.
Well, I like the fact that they have 3 knocks already early in the game, and all 3 have been a big part of the field. Knowing that they cannot get out in front of that changeup or swing at the 2-seamer low and away. So far, good approach.
Tyler Goodell getting the chance to start for a third straight day, and he takes a strike just above the belt. 0-1. Goodell 1 for 6 against the Cardinals. Those are his numbers overall. Trying to think along with the home plate umpire Dan Iasonia, who's normally a pretty good ball strike umpire. He's not giving the low strike here tonight. It's the upper strike, which could be dangerous for a pitcher. The ball's hit back just in front of us, and 1-2. I hope it didn't break anything. Some of these TVs down here are in play. Off the hands down the right field line. It is a foul ball. That was really close.
Well, it was very close, and luckily it was foul. The reason why Cameron was standing at first base. He wasn't sure what to do.
Mickey's talking to him right now about it. Wow, that's really close. Not reviewable close, but close. In the dirt, 2-2. Real Muto, who emerged last year. Yeah, emerged last year as the everyday catcher for the Marlins. How about the Marlins staff? They have 14 wild pitches already. Out towards short, that might be 2. There's 1. And it's a double play. 6-4-3. 2 outs, and Vince Velasquez coming up. Today's game is also available in Spanish. Just use the SAP button on your television or change the language through the menu on your cable box. Velasquez 1 for 9 so far. Popped up toward the first base dugout and out of play. Man, this is such a better ballpark when the roof is open. I mean, it is beautiful out. It's bright. I know they can't do it in the summer a lot of times because of the rain and the heat. Velasquez goes around. It's 1-2. But it was beautiful here in South Florida. I know the weather hasn't been great back home.
The ball just sounds different coming off the bat.
I'm telling you, pitchers, this is a hitter's strike zone, isn't it? I mean, if you're a pitcher, you don't want to leave the ball up like that.
No, you don't. And Dan's always been a fair umpire for the hitters.
Three balls and 2 strikes to Velasquez with 2 away here in the top of the second.
Actually, the more I look around and see all the umpires, they're all pretty good umpires for hitters.
Hit sharply to shortstop. Rojas, though, has time as he takes a beat. And the side is retired. No runs, 1 hit, and nobody left. On to the bottom of the second. Marlins 2 and the Phillies nothing.
When will Sam Bradford return to the Eagles?
John Feinstein, Glenn Macnow, and Raheem Brock join us on Monday with the latest on the Birds QB situation.
We'll see you Monday at 6 on the Comcast Network and breakfastonbroad.com.
Oh, we go to the bottom of the second inning. Vince Velasquez ready to go. He did allow a home run in the first. And now he'll face Marcell Ozuna, Chris Johnson, Miguel Rojas. Probably there were a handful of people that liked the change in managers for the Marlins this past offseason. As Ozuna takes a strike, it's 0-1. This guy probably liked it better than everybody else because he fell into the doghouse last year of both managers. And he's a pretty good player. 0-1 pitch coming. Breaking ball.
Fell in the doghouse because one of them was a GM.
Very true. They have a very good young outfield, obviously, with Yelich in left and Ozuna in center and Giancarlo Stanton signed for a long time in right field. Yelich has already shown that tonight. There's a liner to center field. That's a base hit. And it's bobbled by Odubel Herrera, and Ozuna's going to get to second base. That'll be Odubel's 4th error of the year. So a single and an E8.
All the errors this year have been the exact same. It's almost like you take that little peek before you catch it to see if he was coming around the base a little hard.
You know, Matt, they've resodded that whole area that Odubel's standing in because they had a concert here at Marlins Park. Now, I'm not sure if that made a difference at all because it was past that cutout area. But the ball is moving quickly in that outfield, or does move quickly in the outfield. I'm with you, though. Every error has been the same one. He had 5 errors last year, so 4 already for Odubel. Chris Johnson's now the batter. Johnson, the veteran, hitting .207, no homers and an RBI. And there's a line drive, base hit it to center field. Odubel gets this one. Ozuna will stop at third. He had to hold up just to make sure the ball got through. And that'll put runners on first and third for Miguel Rojas. Well, 1 strikeout so far for Vince Velasquez, and Murph, I think it's obvious that they haven't been missing a whole lot of pitches in the first inning plus.
Yeah, and that was the conversation before the game. You know, how would Vincent Velasquez attack this lineup? A good fastball hitting lineup. You know, he has struck out 32% of the batters that he has faced this year. That's third best in all of baseball. And you take a look at his whip percentage. Well, that's best in baseball, ahead of David Price and Madison Bumgarner. So, you know, guys are swinging and missing at that fastball 30% of the time, and 30 of his 39 strikeouts this year have come on that fastball. But again, this is a kind of lineup that has had success, and certainly recent success against guys that throw hard and throw the fastball. So it will be interesting to see how they attack him. Now, Bob McClure told me last week if Vince Velasquez is going to get beat, he wants him to get beat on his best pitch, which is his fastball, but he may have to do some adjusting with this lineup.
He seems to, just in the few starts we've seen, he seems to be bright when it comes to how he wants to go after hitters. Moving the ball around with that fastball. That one's in tight, 1-0. Heck, we've enjoyed the swings and misses, though.
We have, but in order, and one way you can set back a team that hits fastballs very well, this is the pitch right here. You need to throw inside and again make hitters feel uncomfortable. And I don't mean just once per at bat. You throw a fastball inside, then all of a sudden you throw for a strike or a foul ball, whatever it is, come back in there again. Now all of a sudden they become a straight up hitter, which means that they try to hit instead of being able to lean over the plate and hit every pitch, they have to pick a side.
Swing and a miss. He's late on that fastball. It's 1-1. And a lot of pitchers, it seems a lot of pitchers are afraid to do that. I don't think Vince Velasquez is afraid to do that.
No, I would agree 100%. You know, 100%. He's a guy that you need to pitch inside. You really do, because the way hitters hit nowadays, being able to turn around a 90-mile-an-hour or 99-mile-an-hour fastball or 100-mile-an-hour fastball, you need to get control of that plate again.
Well, now he's ahead, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Let's see if he can put him away, because he's got Chen on deck. So far, he's thrown his fastball 81% of the time. Gone through the full boat. Strike 3 called right at the knees. So maybe he is given the low strike. 1 away. Second strikeout for Velasquez. Well, when all else fails, go to your best weapon.
Well, and its location. You can see it right here.
Beautiful.
Good pitch. Now, it was supposed to be away and caught middle of the plate. But I think it really set up from the pitches before and the first pitch. If you throw that fastball inside, all of a sudden the next 2 pitches are painted away. Again, locating that fastball is so important.
Well, now Chen, who is hitless so far this season, he's squaring. Ozuna leads off third. Pitch is low, 1 ball, no strikes. Off first base is Chris Johnson. This is not, at least it seems to be, it's not to get Ozuna home from third. This is really to get Johnson up to second base. I mean, maybe he'll come home if it's a safety squeeze. Ball is bunted right in front of the plate. Ozuna's off the third base bag. The throw goes to first. Ozuna basically went as far as Franco, which is what you're taught to do as a base runner. A lot of times you don't see base runners do it, though. So the sacrifice moves the runner up to second. The putout goes 2-3.
Pretty good bunt right here. And you can see Ozuna being aggressive, going with Michael. Once he stops, he retreats. But nice job by Cameron coming up. Make sure he's not coming down the line too far. So now second, third, 2 outs.
And now you can see yourself through this with 2 runners in scoring position. Real Muto popped out into foul territory his first time up.
See, that last play is where you throw, plan D in. Goodell comes in quick from left field. Foul territory back in the Little League days.
Yeah.
It worked back then.
Sometimes, Matt, you just got to go back to your roots.
Yep.
In the dirt, blocked by Rupp. It's 1-1. One ball, 1 strike. Fortunately, that ball hit a vacant seat. It may have broken the seat, but it hit the vacant seat. And it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Their hearts are moving a little faster right now. Runners lead off second and third.
few different things that Vince can do right here, and him and Cameron. They can climb the ladder a little bit more with a fastball, or try to throw that slider low and away.
No, they went fastball down, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
The only reason why I say with 2 strikes, elevate the ball a little bit. He just swung at the 96 to foul it straight back. Now he's thinking, okay, I felt pretty good at that 95, 96 mile an hour fastball. I can hit any fastball he's throwing right now. Now, if you elevate it a little bit more as a hitter, you think I can get to it. Next thing you know, even if he climbs about 4 or 5 inches higher in the ladder, you can't catch up to it there. If you do, you usually pop it up the elevator shaft.
Which is what he did in his first at bat when he popped it up to foul territory. Looks that foul, so he's throwing one fastball after another. So maybe you have to get him off the fastball here if you're not going to raise it like you said.
Yeah, and again, that pitch right there was supposed to be a low and away. He left it inner half. He hit a loud strike, but he's seen consistent pitches of 94, 95. The BP fastball will be tremendous, or elevate it.
And he does throw the slider. It's softly hit up the third base line. Velasquez tries to barehand it, and everybody is safe. Ozuna will score. It's 3-0. Marlins on top. Well, he threw a good pitch.
Had some angles on that ball coming off the bat. I don't think he had to try to barehand it. He could have probably got it with the glove, even though that Realmuto's a leadoff hitter. Still is a catcher.
Well,
But he'll take it.
Yeah, they'll take the infield hit, and it's an RBI. 3-0. Marlins on top. And even though there's an error charged to Odubel Herrera, that should go down as an earned run, because the sacrifice still would have moved Ozuna. If you project and break down the inning, would have moved him over to third, and he would have scored on that anyway. Martin Prado doubled his first time up, so he's 1 for 1. Slider, and that's a strike. 0-1. Said that was a slider. That was probably his curveball. His curveball, he throws up more than the slider. There's another one.
Have yet seen a changeup from Vince. He doesn't throw a lot of them. He throws them 5% of the time. But again, it's just another pitch that hitters have to think about. You get the fastball, curveball, slider. Now you got to think change.
There's a fastball punched into right field. Scoring from third is Johnson. It'll be an RBI for Prado, who's now 2 for 2, and it's 4-0. Marlins on top. We mentioned they were a hot team. They're showing that right now. And Bob McClure heading out to the mound to talk to Velasquez.
We've seen this Parada do this a lot. Not this necessarily an 0-2 pitch, but hit that hole at first base. Career over 300 hitter versus the Phillies. I think I believe today he was coming in hitting 303 versus the Phillies.
And his lifetime average is a good one, too. Not only against the Phillies, but overall. He's a 293 lifetime hitter. So Bob McClure's meeting is over. And Velasquez will now go after Christian Yelich, who homered his first time up. That home run was the third one allowed by Velasquez this year. 4 runs on 6 hits for the Marlins. Oh, there's your changeup, Matt.
It's a great pitch. Back in the first inning, Yelich gets that fastball inside. Absolutely destroys this pitch. His 4th of the year, 451 feet estimated at.
That is a long home run. I'll agree with that distance more so than yesterday's, with Brandon Moss being 462.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
No balls and 2 strikes. He threw him a curveball, and backing up on it is Hernandez. He throws him out, and the side is retired. 2 more runs scored, though, for the Marlins. Real Muto comes up with the infield hit. Prado, a line drive to right. We'll head to the 3rd. Phillies.com. Go to the fans section for all the information, and please submit your answer on the subject line. All right, Matt, here's the question. Which 2 managers have more wins than Don Mattingly since 2013? Which 2 managers have more wins than Don Mattingly since 2013? The answer will be revealed a little later on. I will give you a hint. Both managers are in the National League. Don Mattingly, 461 victories as a skipper. He was a heck of a ball player, too. Dodgers decided to go a different direction. They hired Dave Roberts this past offseason after they let him go. Peter Borges will lead it off in the top of the 3rd. Phillies down 4-0. And Chen delivers a strike. It's 0-1. Borges was 1 for 9 against the Cardinals. He's 0 for his last 8. And he takes low. Making his 24th start of the year out in the outfield.
Figure 3-1 up 4-0. You should get a pretty good pitch here. hit this a mile.
Or take it for ball 4.
Good take.
First walk issued by Chen. Well, last year the Phillies were 10-9 against the Miami Marlins. Now their all-time record in Florida is 98-91. They are 17-20 lifetime here at Marlins Park. Park hasn't been open that long. And overall, the Phillies hold a better than 500 record against the Miami Marlins and the Florida Marlins. Phillies will have 6 straight against the National League East on this road trip. They are 7-5 against the NL East so far to start the year, but haven't played the Marlins until tonight and have not played the Braves yet. They'll face them on Tuesday. Want to know to Herrera, who singled his first time up. And he lines a single into left field. He's 2 for 2. The Phils certainly have hit some balls hard against Chen in these first 3 innings. Talking about the National League East, this is what the teams have done against each other. Nationals already have 18 games against the National League East. Mets are 9-6. Marlins are 5-7. Cesar Hernandez, the middle infielders are cheating up to turn 2. Prado is in on the grass at third. Johnson's in on the grass at first. And that one's back toward the middle, and that should be 2. It is a double play. Over to third base goes Borges. And that is the second double play the Phillies have hit into in this game. All right, so Cesar's 0 for 2.
Pretty good pitch to hit right down the middle, but he unfortunately hits it right at the shortstop.
Yeah, and they say this infield is a little different than it was even last year. It's a little slower than it was the last couple years, which does benefit the infielders, in that case Rojas, who was shortened up. Rojas playing shortstop today for Echeverria, who has been struggling offensively. No balls, 1 strike to Franco. And a fly ball down the right field line. That's going to be a tough one for everyone. And it's going to drop. It's a fair ball. A run will score. Franco on his way to second, and he's there with a head-first slide, and the Phillies are on the board. It's a 4-1 ball game. RBI number 16 for Maikel Franco. And that ends a 15-inning scoreless stretch for the Phils. Take that.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty. By no means, but absolutely with 2 strikes. Change up. Pretty good pitch off the plate. Couldn't throw a ball there any better.
That actually was a pretty good pitch. Did he do a better job of staying with that ball, Matt, or was that just fortunately the path of the bat got to the...
Well, considering where the pitch was off the plate, yes, he did.
All right, now Darren Ruff, who singled his first time up. And he takes strike 1, 0-1. Boy, that next run, if Darren can get this run home, it will look huge for the Phils. Checks his swing.
Go. Got to give credit to Michael as well, getting to second base on that ball hit. A lot of times hitters will hit that ball and think it's an easy out or it's going to be, caught to right field. He thought two the whole way.
Yeah, and sometimes you're a frustrated hitter as well. If you're Franco, you're thinking, oh man, I missed it again.
Last two hits for Michael have been interesting. He had the chopper over the third baseman's head.
Right.
And then the flare to right.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Ruff, and Ruff lines it out toward left field. Going back on it is Yelich, and he'll make the catch. And the side is retired. Phillies do get a run back. They get 2 hits. They leave 1 in scoring position. Middle of the 3rd. It's 4-1 Marlins on top. Coverage. T-Mobile has doubled its 4G LTE since 2015. Buy your Delaware Valley Honda dealers. Heard your local Del Val Honda dealer. Visit DelValHondaDealers.com and buy WB Mason. You can't go wrong when you buy right. Beautiful night here in South Florida. The Phillies trail at 4-1. Giancarlo Stanton will lead it off. Stanton tapped one back to Velasquez his first time up. And a fastball on the outside corner. Threw him nothing but soft stuff the first time, and then starts them all with a fastball away here. Missed his spot, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike.
Joe Vince was pretty frustrated after that pitch he just threw. It was supposed to be a fastball inside. Just pulled it a little bit too much.
Velasquez is a heck of an athlete. We talk about what a good guy he is. We've gotten to know him a little bit over the last couple months since he's joined the Phillies. He's a very good golfer. He also is ambidextrous. In fact, if you come to the ballpark and watch BP swing and a miss, it's 2-2. You might see him out in the outfield with a left-hander's glove. From time to time, he'll be out there shagging left-handed. He's not like Pat Venditti, the guy who pitches with both hands, depending on who is up at the plate. Two balls and 2 strikes to Stanton. Fouls it back over the screen.
The Marlins do not get cheated with that fastball.
Strike 3 called. Boy, he wanted to challenge him, and he went after him at 96. 3rd strikeout for Velasquez. On Saturday, May 14th, will the Phillies take on the Cincinnati Reds? It's Tampa respiratory night at Citizens Bank Park. A free Phillies cap will be given out to all fans. There's the cap right there. You can get tickets right now by going to Phillies.com. If you want to see a larger picture of that cap, you can also see that on Phillies.com. Here's Dietrich with one out, playing second base for the suspended D. Gordon.
See how important that pitch is right there, that changeup? 88, freezes the hitters. You get it over for an early strike.
How about throwing it twice?
Love it. I do. I think it's such an important pitch for guys that throw extremely hard.
Now, this is the second time through the order, and he's already faced one batter in this inning. I know you're not a big fan of throwing the changeup on the first pitch, but it's okay here because they've seen it before?
Correct. Yeah, first time through the order is kind of hard because really, what are you throwing a changeup off? You haven't faced the guy yet. Sometimes guys out of the bullpen will come in and throw a first pitch changeup. They haven't seen your fastball yet. So is that his velocity, 88?
Curveball whacked foul, and it remains 0-2. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, David Ortiz, a 2-run home run. And with that 2-run home run, it's now 510 for Ortiz. And that moves him into 25th place all time on the home run list. Somebody wrote the other day, because he's having a pretty good year, why would he retire? And you know what? It's true.
He's hitting .323, 7 home runs, 25 steaks.
Yeah. Fly ball, shallow center field. And Herrera comes in. 2 outs. I wonder if he would ever think about saying, you know what, I'm going to give it another year.
He'd have to give all those gifts back.
I guess it's always good to leave on top, if that's your thought.
Yeah, but he's going to go down in history as a guy who retired with going out with the best numbers ever, as in his last year when he retired. Come on, 323, 7, 25.
Here's Marcell Ozuna, a swing and a miss. It's 0-1. Think back to some of those other guys that retired maybe close to the top of their game. Derek Jeter was sort of going downward with his numbers. Chipper Jones hit .287 with 14 home runs his last year.
We call him Larry. Jones.
Breaking ball waved at 0-2. Good first month for David Ortiz. .0-2 pitch to Ozuna. Swing and a miss. He got him with a high fastball, and the side is retired. He strikes out 2 in the inning. He doesn't just throw fastballs in this inning. He's throwing all of his pitches. We'll head to the 4th. It's 4-1 Marlins. Avery neon shipping labels ensure all your shipping messages get noticed. Perfect for any priority message. And WB Mason delivers the same day when you order by 11:30. Local service, personalized. Who but WB Mason? We'll go to the top of the 4th inning. Phillies trail at 4-1. And Freddie Galvis will lead it off. It'll be Galvis, Cameron Rupp, and Tyler Goodell. Freddie takes upstairs. 1 ball, no strikes. Galvis grounded out to shortstop his first time up. That ended the first. And a line drive, base hit it to left field. So Galvis leads off the 4th inning with a single. Phillies have had the leadoff batter on in every inning. Here's Cameron Rupp, and Murph, where the heck are you?
Well, I'm out in left center field right now, and you know, Phillies fans that are watching the game back at home might be looking at the outfield and saying to themselves, the Marlins park, it looks a little bit different, and they'd be right about that. They've made some changes to the outfield fences here at Marlins Park, and I guess perhaps the biggest change is that they've moved the fence in from 418 to 407 in right center field. That was kind of like a Bermuda Triangle. It was a huge area for the center field to cover, and they've moved that in and taken away some of that. But they've also lowered the fences in a couple of different spots. They've gone from anywhere from being 13 to 11 feet high down to 7 feet high. Some of them are 6 feet high, so you can see outfielders going up over the wall and bringing them back. They wanted to do that uniformly across the entire outfield, but because of some of the permanent scoreboards that are out in the fences, they were unable to do that. But you'll see it in left field, you see it down the right field corner as well. So they've made some changes. Now, make no mistake, this is still very much a pitcher's park. It is still a tough place to hit a home run, but they were second to last in all of baseball over the last 2 years in home runs allowed here at this ballpark. So they try to change things up a little bit.
Yeah, they wanted the fences to be shorter, as you see there near the Marlins bullpen and over by the Phillies bullpen as well, because they want the outfielders to be able to climb the wall to maybe make some spectacular catches. Doesn't happen that often, as Dietrich will make that catch. And there's one away. Murph, I couldn't see you because your shirt actually blended in with the wall that you are standing in front of.
I'm like a weatherman in front of the green wall, I guess. Is that new too, that wall? I think it is.
The
right?
wall is new, yes.
It is.
Yeah, because last year you wore a shirt, I forget which color, that really matched.
Yeah,
matched whatever it was.
I think the color is changed from green to whatever you would like to call that. I guess that's red of some kind.
Some form of red.
Well, here I am.
Here's Tyler Goodell with one away. And Goodell fouls it down the right field line. And it's 0-1. It does still look like a big ballpark. And I guess you would say a fair ballpark as far as the dimensions go. The fish are still here, though, Matt, behind home plate. Although they must be high. Oh, there they are. Oof. Well, maybe they went on vacation.
A little siesta time.
Inside, 1-2 to Goodell. He hit into a double play his first time up. Popped him up. Out to right field. Dietrich is out. Stanton's in. Two outs now for Velasquez.
Murph, just to let you know that the shirt you have on is red. I gotta I have a gut feeling that that big wall behind you is coral pink.
Coral pink? Where did you come up with coral pink?
Google's a tremendous thing.
Well, what did you Google? You Googled Reds? All right. Coral pink. Murph, take a chip of it off the wall. We'll walk over to one of the paint stores tomorrow. See if we can match it up with their swatch.
Get through.
Yeah, Murph, get through. Velasquez is able to beat it. And that'll put runners on first and second. Don Mattingly goes to the top step of the dugout and says, can you hold on one moment? Tim Wallach, his bench coach, is on the horn.
Just told him it was safe.
And he said that Velasquez made it. So the Phils have runners on first and second with 2 men down. And Peter Borges is coming up.
Well, even pitchers smell knocks. You can see he makes a nice play. Rojas, strong throw. But Vince came out of that batter's box smelling a hit and got it. Was very close play, though.
Excellent play by Rojas. Borges pulls it, and it's fair down the left field line. Galvis will score. Velasquez to third, and he's going to score as well. Peter Borges will be at second with a 2-run double. And the Phils are within 1. It's a 4-3 ball game. Lance Barrett seemed to get spun around a little bit about how he wanted to call that. I think he got it right, though. I thought it was a fair ball, and I thought he was initially going to call it foul. 6th double of the year for Borges.
Well, this is a missile, that's for sure. Breaking ball. Does a nice job jumping out of the way of the play, and then shows it's a fair ball right away.
Yeah, I think that jump is what knocked him off kilter a little bit.
So can I add a key right here?
Sure.
I mean, this is a very nice swing right here, just inside the line. I actually hit the chalk.
See, now he put his hands up as if it was a foul ball
right
initially.
My new key going in is take a couple of pitches, because Vince just beat an infield knockout, and then he scored from first base.
Well, Odubel didn't listen to you. Slow chopper towards second. Dietrich has it, and Herrera is able to beat it. Odubel Herrera is 3 for 3. Well, you want to talk about smelling a knock? I mean, he was moving.
Well, he was moving, but this play was not even close at first base.
Well, that's the difference between Dietrich and D. Gordon as far as getting to baseballs. It's a 4-3 game.
So, whatever the pitch was, I think it was a fastball. He smothered it. Hits it in front of him, but look at him. He just smells that knock. You can hear the bench yelling.
Second 3-hit game of the night. His average has gone from 316 to 337 with his 3 hits. And now Cesar Hernandez, who has a chance to tie this game. And Cesar swings at the first pitch, and it's 0-1.
Stay on this changeup and hit it to left center. Cesar can hit a gap or a ball down the line. Odubel Herrera will score easy from first base.
Up high, it's 2-1. That one's pulled towards shortstop. Diving stop by Rojas. Goes to second. And it's in time to get Herrera. That's an excellent play. He robs Cesar Hernandez of a hit. Odubel's thinking he's safe. He's saying that Dietrich's foot was not on the bag. And Pete Buchanan says, ladies and gentlemen, hold the defense. They're going to take a look at it. Larry Bowa's on the horn. Odubel was saying that the foot of Dietrich was not on the bag as he was stretching. Let's take a look. It does look like he's on the bag right there.
Yep.
And the inning is over. But the Phils do get 2. They leave 2. We'll head to the bottom of the 4th. It's 4-3 Marlins. To you by Toyota. Visit buyatoyota.com to find out your RAV4 today. Toyota, let's go places. Let's go Phils. 4-3 ball game as we go to the bottom of the 4th inning. And Velasquez will go back to work against Chris Johnson. Delivers a strike. It's 0-1. I wonder if Velasquez learned something, that valuable lesson that we talk about for young players in that 3rd, when he threw all of his pitches, not just his fastball, because he's got some good pitches. Those other pitches are plus pitches.
Well, they are, and I like the fact that he started mixing in some changeups. You know, that last pitch there was the breaking pitch. Not happy with the location, but at least he's starting to mix in some other pitches, which means he's not just throwing. He's becoming a pitcher.
Yeah, that was the slider right there. So he's thrown the slider 17% of the time, the curve 9%. Those numbers are usually reversed. And the changeup 9% of the time. It will make that fastball even better. No swing, says the crew chief, Dale Scott.
The pitch that I have liked the most tonight was the first pitch last inning to Ozuna. He threw him an 88-mile-an-hour changeup, and Ozuna was way out in front of it. Came back with a breaking pitch and then a fastball. I mean, this is just a tremendous first pitch changeup. You can see he's out in front of it. He missed it by a mile, expecting the 94, 95. You know, and Ben and I talk about having that 8 to 10 mile an hour difference in your fastball to your changeup. It's hard to recognize.
Way inside, 3-2. He's got a little bit of a hop in his step now, too.
Yeah, he does. And even though he missed that pitch by 2.5 feet, it's uncomfortable at bat now when you just got 96, 95 thrown in inside to you.
out to left field, right at Tyler Goodell, one away. Phillies Baseball Academy is for boys and girls aged 6 to 14. It's baseball and softball camps. It's 4 divisions that allow for age-appropriate instruction, professional coaching, and skill development from Phillies players and coaches and Baseball Academy instructors. A camp are reunited Phillies games. For more information, call 610-520-3400 or go to the community section at phillies.com. Rojas struck out looking his first time to the plate.
Watching his delivery, watching the last couple pitches. See if he's, sometimes you tip your pitch, sometimes you're easier and slower motion with your off-speed pitch, and sometimes when you throw your fastball, you kind of explode. You come set nice and easy, and then when the hands separate as an off-speed pitch, you kind of stay in that nice, easy delivery form, which he did the last 3 pitches, and then all of a sudden with that fastball, you want to get that extra oomph on the fastball. You kind of speed up when your hands break apart.
Think he's doing that, or you're still trying to see it?
Still trying to figure out. I mean, his last 3 pitches on his off-speed pitches, he's been nice and easy. The separation out of his hands have been nice. Power pitchers will have a tendency to, when they break their hands, and they want to get that little extra giddy up on the fastball.
Got him through a slider, and he could not get it. 5 strikeouts now for Velasquez. But he's retired 6 consecutive hitters.
Good location, good bite, good velocity. Again, Rojas sitting there waiting for that fastball, thinking he's going to get it sooner than later. Instead, he got 4 off-speed pitches.
That'll bring Chen to the plate. His sac bunt his first time up. His bat speed is not up to the level of everybody else in this Marlins lineup. Now, that doesn't always mean anything, particularly somebody that throws as hard as Velasquez does. Little dribbler in front of the plate, picked up by Velasquez, and the side is retired. Kind of an awkward grab by Darren Ruff. He took that sinker. 1-3 on the putout, 7 in a row retired by Velasquez. We're on to the 5th inning here in Miami. Time now for the Jeep Stuff the Fans trivia question answer. All right, Matt, here we go. Which two managers have more wins than Don Mattingly from 2013 through 2015?
Well, your hint helped me out a lot, and I broke the teams down. I'll start with Clint Hurdle with the Pirates, and Mike Matheny with St. Louis.
Mike Matheny, who is the leader in the clubhouse at 287 wins. And Mattingly then has 278. Log back on to Phillies.com to find out if you're the winner of a Phillies prize pack. If you're wondering about, let's say, Joe Madden.
That's who I was thinking.
Yeah, Joe Madden won 92 in 2013, 77 in 2014. And then 97 last year with the Chicago Cubs.
To 240 wins.
240 wins. That was the first one that I thought about.
Did you hear the buzzer? Or the bell?
I did not hear the bell as Franco slams one down the right field line. It is gone! An opposite field home run by Maikel Franco. And he's just tied this baby up at 4. Bells for everybody. Ellen Leslie of Sinking Spring, Pennsylvania, you've just won $200 thanks to the McDonald's home run jackpot and an opposite field home run by Maikel Franco.
I told you we were going to give some money away today. That is what you call staying on the baseball. Nice powerful swing. Not pulling off, staying through it, hitting where it's pitched. And I know we talk about, well, they should be hitting the ball where it's pitched, but
that one's up the third base line. Prado's got it.
Sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Oh, he's got 2 hits tonight. He's got the double and now the home run. Maybe that gets him on the right path.
Well, you look at the location and the ball's away. Head down on the ball. And that's where you need to trust yourself. We talked about it in the open. We talked about it a lot in spring training and having the power to drive the ball to right field. And yes, it's spring training, but it's still a powerful swing to hit home runs that way.
Absolutely.
And he didn't overswing. You know, and we also talked about it, and you made a good point. He's only struck out 4 times.
Freddie Galvis is aboard with his second base hit.
Over his last, what did we say, 7 games where he's been struggling?
Yeah, he's made contact.
So that's an area where you don't have to worry about. If you start striking out 10, 11 times, that's where you panic a little bit. But it's just a little click or something in your swing that you need to fix. It could be the front toe turns in, the shoulder turns in. You trust your hands a little bit more. Good start to get out of that little area of, I don't want to say a slump, but not hitting the ball the way he's supposed to be hitting it.
Oh, Real Muto's going out to talk to Chen. They're just trying to buy some time. It looks like the bullpen's going to start working for the Marlins. Chen does understand English. In fact, when he came over from Japan, he's from Taiwan, but when he came over from playing in Japan, he immediately took lessons as Juan Nieves is coming out. He immediately took lessons his first couple of years with Baltimore because he wanted to make sure that he was ingrained into the baseball society. That's why you don't see any need for anybody to help out from a translation standpoint. So Craig Breslow, the left-hander, he's been hit around a little bit, is warming up in the bullpen. As Cameron Rupp will be the batter with 1 man down here in the 5th inning. Rupp is 1 for 2. Phillies now have 11 hits tonight.
Yes, it is.
I like that there's a descriptive umpire behind home plate.
Love it. I love when umpires tell you where it is. Now, if they can tell you how far inside, That'd even be better.
Can't do everything for you.
That's why you asked before the game. You walk up and ask Dan how he's doing, how the family's doing, how much you giving the pitcher tonight, he'll tell you.
In the dirt, 2-0. But how much does he know that before the game? Or does it evolve as the game rolls on?
Well, it depends on pitchers if they're going to be around the strike zone. That's a good point in your part, Tom.
Because you can go back up in your second at bat and say, hey, you said you were going to go this far, but you're not. 2 balls and no strikes to Rupp. He throws over to first, or to continue to give the bullpen a chance to warm up. Galvis does not have a big lead.
He doesn't, and I'm hoping that Cameron takes a nice easy swing on this ball, because if he does, he will hit the Budweiser sign over that coral pink wall.
2-0 pitch, and there's a fly ball out to right field. And there are 2 outs. Follow the Phillies all season long with the MLB.com at-bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at-bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. 2 outs. Here's Tyler Goodell. Goodell is 0 for 2. He's flied to right, and he's also hit into a double play. Over to third. Prado backhands it. He couldn't decide how he wanted to play it. And he plays it cleanly. And the side is retired, but the Phillies have tied it up here in the 5th inning. Maikel Franco, his 2nd extra base hit of the night. This one goes the opposite way. His 6th homer of the year. We'll go to the bottom of the 5th, all even at 4. Our Citizens Bank minor league report. Citizens Bank, the next time you have a question about money, don't keep it to yourself. Ask a citizen. Ben Lively has been named the pitcher of the month for the Phils after going 3-0 with an ERA of 1.55 for the Reading Titans. Josh Tobias, all he did is have 19 RBIs in the month of April for the Blue Claws. And Scott Kingery, big prospect for the Phils at second base. And he had 180 innings without an error, so he was the defensive player of the month. We go to the top of the bottom of the 5th inning, and it'll be the top of the order. JT Realmuto Takes a strike. It's 0-1. Real Muto had an RBI infield single his last time up. Fly ball to right field. Peter Borges is out there. All right, Velasquez has started to solve a lot of players. Let's see if he can solve the next riddle, and that's getting Martin Prado out, because Prado is 2 for 2.
Well, he's 2 for 2 off of fastballs. His last at bat, he saw a couple of breaking pitches, then he got a fastball out over and hit it. Get it up there, Vince. You know you wanted to. You know, that's the fastball he wanted to elevate. You can see the little grin on his face, knowing that he actually got away with one. Good
That's
pitch.
where he wanted it, right?
Yes, it is.
0-2.
Same thing.
Out to right field. Borges over toward the line. He'll get there. And he has solved Martin Prado. 2 outs. Cameron Rupp is looking over toward the dugout, and he is nodding his head yes. I don't know if somebody asked him something or if he just liked the way that pitch was. Velasquez looked at him and then looked at the play, and then Cameron was nodding his head yes. I don't know if it was toward Bob McClure or to Pete Mackanin.
Few things could go, you know, he could be nodding his head saying, yes, it was on the plate, or yes, it was off the plate on an 0-2 pitch.
Took a little off that fastball on the inside part.
Yeah, a little two-seamer. Parada's actually a very good bad ball hitter. Meaning if it's a pitch low and away where most people aren't even going to make contact, he'll hit a line drive. Sit down to Frank and talk hitting now.
Yeah, Frank Menachino is the assistant hitting coach. Barry Bonds is the main hitting coach for the Marlins.
Pocket Hercules.
Is that what you call Menachino? 2-1 pitch. Backdoor curveball. Ground ball towards second base. Cesar Hernandez is up with it. That's 10 in a row. Retired by Vince Velasquez. And the side is retired. We have completed 5. That young man continues to grow up right before our eyes. We'll head to the 6th inning. It's a 4-4 game. Enjoyed the first month of the Our Independence Blue Cross Philly of the Week has enjoyed the first month of the 2016 season. Mikel's bat has connected with consistency and done so with eye-opening power as expected when he arrived at the major league level. In addition to the bat, the glove has been quite impressive itself over at the hot corner. Quick on his feet, Franco rarely lets a ball get by, and he can make throws from wherever he lands. And his early season performance is brought to you by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Well, he certainly has had a good night tonight. He's got a double and a home run, a couple RBIs, and now it'll be a new pitcher for the Marlins as we go to the top of the 6th inning. Craig Breslow will take over in a 4-4 game. The Phillies with 11 hits against Wei-Yin Chen. Totally different story than the last time they faced him. So now Breslow, who's 0-1 with a 3.86 ERA. He's allowed 17 hits in 11 2/3. The opposition is hitting .362 against him. There's Chen with his interpreter, Tom Lin. Velasquez sends the first pitch into the air to center. Marcelo Zuna gallops under it. One away. That'll bring Peter Borges to the plate.
Same approach versus Chen as the hitters had earlier in the game against Breslow. He's not overpowering. 89-91, 4-pitch pitcher, curveball, cutter, cut fastball, but not overpowering.
Borges takes a strike. It's 0-1. And Borges loops that one out towards center. Here comes Ozuna, and he's not going to get there. Peter Borges has been on base 3 times. He's now 2 for 2. Baseball 101 for women has 2 dates this year. The first one's coming up on Tuesday, May 31st. The second one is Thursday, August 18th. Take part in interactive clinics taught by the Phillies coaching staff, behind-the-scenes access to Citizens Bank Park, plus Q&A sessions with us broadcasters, executives, a player, maybe even an umpire, pregame party after the day's events, and much more. Go to Phillies.com/baseball101 now for more information. Radio guys will have the first one. We will have the second one. Scott and Larry and Jim Jackson will handle the first Baseball 101. Little toss over to first. By the way, we have not yet on the air wished Larry Anderson a happy birthday. Larry shares a birthday with the great Willie Mays. So all around baseball today, people have said, well, today's birthday's in baseball. Willie Mays. And they talked about Willie Mays, and they said, and Larry Anderson. Ground ball. That is a fair ball. Stepping on the first base bag is Johnson, and he fires to second, not in time to get Borges. So there are 2 outs. Well, not much you can do if you're Odubel. You hit it hard. And Cesar Hernandez is coming up, and man, is he due.
The only play that could have been made a little different there was Johnson, instead of touching first base, is go ahead and get the lead runner at second base. But it happens so quick, and you're standing by first base, and your reaction is to touch the bag and turn and throw. And he's standing close to first base.
Well, he was close not to even touch the first base bag.
He touched the bag as he was delivering the ball.
I guess so. Yeah, he dragged that foot. 1 ball and no strikes to Cesar. With Borges at second, a base hit, and that'll give the Phils, or should give the Phils, the lead. Phillies have 12 hits tonight. Their season high is 13. 1 ball, 1 strike, and Cesar fouls it back. By the way, Scott earlier tonight, when we were talking about Larry's birthday, his 63rd birthday, he pointed out to Larry that Philo Ramirez, who is the Hall of Fame announcer, Spanish broadcaster for the Marlins, is 93 and still broadcasting games. He said, Larry, you still have 30 years left in the broadcast booth. Cesar waves at that one. It's 1-2. Man's 93, Matt, and he's still doing games.
Tremendous.
Fouled it away. It remains 1-2.
You're talking about a knock to the outfielder, should score a run. Stanton with a tremendous arm in right field. Ozuna with a cannon in center. The weak link is left field. Yelich has a very weak arm.
But is a Gold Glover. And you know, I said that, and I looked up and realized that Stanton is not all that deep out and right. Borges runs really well. Two balls, 2 strikes to Hernandez with Maikel Franco on deck here in the top of the 6th. Off the hands out toward right, and Stanton will make the catch. Side is retired. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left. We've played 5.5. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th and tied up at 4. Brought to you by Toyota. Get a great deal on your favorite Toyota during the Toyota Time Sales Event. Toyota, let's go places. By McDonald's. Jumpstart your morning with a hot or iced McCafe coffee. Now starting at just $1. And by your local Ford stores. Phillies 4, Marlins 4 as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Vince Velasquez ready to work against Giancarlo Stanton. Velasquez has retired 10 consecutive batters. Delivers a changeup low, and it's 1 ball and no strikes. So the first 2 innings, 38 pitches, 4 earned runs. Innings 3 through 5, 40 pitches and 3 strikeouts. Well, get ready for a little green light swinging here.
That's a powerful, short swing right there.
Must be great to be a talented major leaguer, but then to always have the green light. 3-0. I would think that light is never anything but green. 3 balls, no strikes. Ball 4, takes a fastball upstairs and he walks. That ends a string of 10 straight. Retired by Velasquez. Derek Gunn and Ruben Frank discuss Sam Bradford's continued absence from offseason workouts, plus an exclusive interview with the Eagles' 2nd overall pick, Carson Wentz. Watch a special edition of Quick Slants presented by Nissan. Saturday night at 6 only on Comcast Sportsnet. Derek Dietrich is up with the runner at first. Fly ball left field. Tyler Goodell does not have to move all that far. Stanton is tagging at first. Goodell hesitates for a moment and then whips it in. Tyler showing a strong arm to get that one in.
Showing a strong arm to get it in, but it shouldn't have to. He should realize a high fly ball, as a base runner, you're taught anything in the air where the pitcher's camped underneath it, go back and tag. Oh, Reed Cornelius.
Cornelius is the bullpen coach. He's the one with the stopwatch. Nefi Agondo is warming up. Hard throwing right-hander. Fastball in there. Rupp throws behind Stanton. He's back without a tag.
I don't mind that. Bottom of the 6th inning. Throw behind the runner at first. Now their secondary lead becomes a little shorter because you don't want to get picked off. Fastball kind of surprised Osuna there.
Over toward the hole, and that'll get into left field, a base hit. First hit for the Marlins since the 2nd inning. And they've got 2 on with 1 man down. Ball's low, 1-0. Chris Johnson singled and scored his first time up, lined out to left field his last time. Phillies leave that hole open on the shortstop side. Franco is a step over toward the line at 3rd. And that one is pulled. Oh, one hopper picked by Maikel Franco, and Hernandez is able to turn the around the horn double play. And the side is retired. Giancarlo Stanton has no idea what's going on, but it's a 5-4-3 double play, and that'll do it for the Marlins here in the 6th inning. As it turns out, the Phillies had Franco positioned perfectly. He picks it on one hop and is able to get around the horn quick enough to send us to the 7th inning in a 4-4 game. Game summary. The Phillies fell behind 4-0, but then climbed back with a single run in the 3rd, 2 in the 4th, and 1 in the 5th inning. They banged out 12 base hits. Peter Borges a 2-run double. Maikel Franco has 2 RBIs, a double and a home run. And now as we go to the top of the 7th inning, they will face a new pitcher, their former teammate Nefi Ogando, who the Marlins took off waivers from the Phillies during this past offseason. Last year he pitched in 4 games for the Phils. And he's on to pitch here in the 7th after a scoreless 6th inning by Craig Breslow. Bob McClure going over some things with Vince Velasquez. The young man did a heck of a job tonight after allowing 4 runs in the first couple of innings. I know he was frustrated that he didn't make that one play on the ball hit by Real Muto, which would have, kept it at a 2-0 deficit at the time, but he really did a nice job.
Well, what he did is he battled through an early struggles to give your team an opportunity to win a game.
Maikel Franco takes a strike. It's 0-1. Andrew Bailey's in the bullpen warming up. Velasquez's night might be done just by the conversation or look of the conversation he was having with Bob McClure. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, Arizona they were swept out here against the Marlins. They now lead the Braves 3-0 in Atlanta. David Peralta, a couple hits and a run scored. Phillies will head to Atlanta after this series and an off day on Monday. Face the Braves beginning Tuesday night. One-two pitch is a strike 3 call. I do believe that Maikel Franco is looking for something else. All right, Matt, it's time now for our Hyundai defensive play of the game.
Boy, so last half inning, Johnson hits a hard one hopper to Maikel Franco. Does a nice job picking it right there. You see the umpire calling no on the catch. Heads up play by Cesar Hernandez. Going around the 5-4-3 double play. That is your Hyundai defensive play of the game. Brought to you by your local Hyundai dealers.
Here's Darren Ruff. And Ruff takes low, 1-0. Now the Phillies, we mentioned we're going to be working on the throws by Maikel Franco. Here's Giancarlo Stanton. He had no idea what was going on. I think he thought that Franco had caught the ball. So he was trying to get back so he wasn't doubled up.
Yeah, he thought he made a mistake.
Then I think he forgot the outs. Fortunately, the Phillies looked like they knew what was going on.
Well, heads up play by Cesar at second base.
1 ball and 1 strike to Ruff. Off the hands, 1 and 2. Actually off his foot, I guess. Velasquez getting congratulations in the dugout. Put the jacket on.
Put the jacket on, but he still had the towel wrapped around his elbow to keep it nice and warm.
Can never be too careful, Matt.
Nice to put one on the board right here and give him a chance to have an opportunity to win the game. Especially the way he battled the last 4 innings. Threw very well.
Inside, and it's ball 4. So Darren will draw the walk. And he's on for the second time. Freddie Galvis is coming up. Let's check in with Greg Murphy. Murph.
All right, thank you very much, Tom. We wanted to give you an update on a player who's not with the team right now, Cody Asche, who, of course, got injured back at spring training with that oblique strain as he's trying to work his way back towards the big club. The latest update is this. He is doing some baseball activities. He's swinging the bat right now. He's swinging off the tee, doing some running and some throwing. He has yet to take batting practice, and that is the next step for him. And they do expect that is going to come very soon for him. They'll take some live batting practice, and then the next step after that, get him into some games, some rehab games. So they're the next 2 steps for Cody Asche. If you're trying to put a timetable on it, it's probably a little too early for that, but a couple of more weeks before Cody would have a chance maybe to work his way back towards the big club. But certainly making progress, and that is good news, guys.
Well, that is good news. I mean, the way the Phillies outfielders have struggled offensively, it'd be nice to have another option that has major league experience. I know Cody is frustrated that he was not able to battle for a job in spring training because of the injury. One ball, no strikes to Galvis with a runner at first base. 2-0. Pete has said he hasn't really thought about Cody getting back here because, as Murph said, he hasn't played in any games yet. He said when he starts playing in games, he goes, that's when I'll have a buildup of anticipation and look forward to getting him back in the lineup in some way, shape, or form.
Well, and remember, Cody was doing some game situations. He hit a home run his first at bat, and then he took an awkward swing off a left-hander and retweaked the oblique.
Two balls and no strikes to Galvis. Swing and a miss, 2-1, 96 on that fastball from Ogando. Freddie does have 2 hits tonight. He grounded out to shortstop his first time up, but has 2 hits in his last 2 at-bats. Those came from the right side of the plate.
That last swing, Freddie's trying to hit that hole at first base. Pitch normally he wouldn't want to try to pull. Like Schmidt says, we always have the advantage, left-handed hitters.
Chopper softly to the left side, and Prado will go to second for one, and that's all they'll get. As Ruff is retired. 5-4 on the putout. And here's Cameron Rupp with 2 men down in the top of the 7th. Marlins bullpen's actually been pretty good this year. They are 5th in the National League in ERA at 3.29. Ogando, who did pitch in the minors a little bit this year. Prado is really protecting the line over at third base. And now Real Muto out to talk to Ogando. And the conversation is over. Cam trying to pick up another base hit. The Phillies have 12 hits in this game.
I'm really surprised to see Prado playing where he is at third base. Cameron's a guy that likes the ball up the middle. He has pull power, but it's usually straight away left field.
Yeah, they're giving him a pretty big hole at shortstop.
Well, yeah, and it's almost like you're guarding. I mean, this here. I mean, Cameron doesn't hit a lot of balls down the third baseline.
Fouls that back. 1 ball, 1 strike. Somebody barked from the dugout. That was a good cut. David Lowe is out in the on-deck circle to pinch hit for Tyler Goodell.
Cameron's getting some pretty good pitches to hit. His upper body's a little tight right now. He needs to relax his upper body. He needs to relax his shoulders, which will quicken his hands.
There goes Galvis. Pitch is taken inside, and Real Muto can't hang on to the ball. And Galvis has his 2nd stolen base of the year. All right, so now he's in scoring position.
Did a good jump, picked a good pitch to steal on a slider. Just a little too quick with the exchange from the glove to the hand.
That was a good pitch from Ogando. Came riding inside.
Late movement at 95.
Phillies originally picked up Ogando in a trade with the Red Sox for John McDonald. And then they tried to get him through waivers this past offseason. We mentioned picked up by the Marlins. Three balls and 2 strikes.
Interesting now you see Prado playing off the line with a runner at second base. Not giving that big hole. So he's guarding the doubles with runner at first base. Top of the 7th. Now the man on second moves off 3 or 4 steps. Takes away that hole.
And a foul tip hung on to by Real Muto on the side is retired. Couple strikeouts for Ogando here in the 7th. No runs, no hits, 1 man left. Time to stretch with the Phils and the Marlins tied at 4. are looking for a little more offense. They have 12 hits tonight, and the game is tied at 4. These Marlins will be at Citizens Bank Park for the first time on Monday, May 16th. It's all part of a 3-game series. The first game is a Hatfield Dollar Dog Night, and Wednesday the 18th is a Citizens Bank Business Person Special, and it's Weather Education Day presented by NBC 10 First Alert Weather. Andrew Bailey will take over for Vince Velasquez, who goes 6 innings tonight and allows 7 hits and 4 runs. And Bailey will take over here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Will face the bottom of the order, Miguel Rojas, and then Justin Bour, who was the starting first baseman for the Marlins, but has been out because of a dislocated pinky. Rojas 0 for 2. No balls in 1 strike. It was a pretty hefty swing right there, huh?
Hefty swing at a fastball that you're not going to catch up on. Anything above those letters, no chance.
Good breaking ball. Kyle Bearclaw is warming up in the bullpen.
One of the greatest baseball names ever.
Ground ball towards short. To his left is Galvis, and he quickly gets to a throwing position. They throw it over to Ruff, 1 away. Every time the Phillies pitchers retire the opposition 1-2-3, which Vince Velasquez did 3 times, Comcast will make a contribution to Phillies charities. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. So now it'll be Bour, who took batting practice today, and that's why Don Mattingly is using him as a pinch hitter, because he was able to take swings without any problems. You can see that that pinky is buddy taped. I don't know how you swing, Matt, with a dislocated finger.
Doesn't look like you have any problems.
No, they didn't have any problems with BP either watching him. Try to check his swing there. No, says Lance Barrett. Got him. 2 outs here in the 7th inning. Good location on that pitch from Andrew Bailey. To the top of the order, JT Realmuto.
You can see Cam, and the game plan has changed a little bit. They want a lot of majority of the fastballs that are throwing to a team that absolutely loves to hit fastballs. They elevate the fastballs. They're being aggressive after the fastball. 91, 92, Vince hit 95, 96. Very hard to hit that pitch. Elevate a little bit. It doesn't have to be elevated a lot, but we've seen the adjustment throughout the game of, instead of looking at fastball low and away to the right-handers, now all of a sudden we've raised the glove up. So good adjustment on the go as the team was hitting the fastball early well in the game.
There's a liner out toward right field. Borges comes dancing in to put it away. And Andrew Bailey has a 1-2-3, bottom of the 7th inning. So it's on to the 8th. The Phils and the Marlins still locked in a 4-4 tie. Baseball is brought to you by Nissan. Shop ChooseNissan.com. By Jefferson. Call 800-JEFF now or visit jefferson.edu. And by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. We move to the top of the 8th inning. This is a bullpen ball game now. Both bullpens have been working. Kyle Bearclaw will be the new pitcher for the Marlins. He has not allowed an earned run in 9 2/3, and he's averaging nearly 2 strikeouts per inning pitched. And he will face David Lowe, Ryan Howard, it looks like, and then Peter Borges.
That's because Kyle Bearclaw, tremendous name, very good fastball, 94-97. Slider 81 to 84, and we'll mix in a few changes here and there, which I would assume that Ryan Howard will see.
Well, first it's Lowe, and Lowe stepping up for the first time takes outside, 1 ball, no strikes. Out to left field, and Yelich will head back to grab this one. And 1 quick out here in the top of the 8th inning. Here is Ryan Howard to pinch hit for Andrew Bailey. Phillies look like they have Hector Neris starting to warm up in the pen. Fastball, and it's 0-1. 95 on that fastball. Took a little off that, a little change up. So 95 to 90, and it's 0-2. Well, Matt, you said you was probably going to see it. I think he's going to see it again.
Elevated fastball.
Bearclaw is acquired by the Marlins from the St. Louis Cardinals in a trade for Steve Cishek in July of last year. He had not pitched above Double-A before he pitched to the big leagues last year. 1-2 pitch coming to Howard. Swing and a miss. Got him with a breaking ball. 2 outs. And Peter Borges, who has 2 hits today.
Good breaking ball right here. Right down that zone. After throwing a 95, 96, you got to think you got to protect it with the fastball. Good location with the off-speed pitch.
That changeup is a pitch that the Marlins sent him home to work on at the end of last season. He not only has a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, he's got a good curve, but they wanted him to work on the changeup. So this spring, he did a lot of pitching with that changeup. Said he had it last year, but he didn't really throw it and hasn't really thrown it a whole lot since college. Juan Nieves and the rest of the Marlins pitching staff wanted him to incorporate it more, which is interesting since that will give him 3 pitches. But when you have 95 and you can throw a changeup the way he's throwing it, ranging from 86 to 90, that's a pretty good weapon.
Yes, it is.
2 balls and 1 strike. 3-1. And Borges walks for the 2nd time. He's been on base 4 times. Good night for him. And down to the top of the order. MLB Play Ball Day, proudly supported by Chevrolet, is Sunday, May 15th, when the Phillies take on the Cincinnati Reds. A bat and ball set free to fans 14 and under. Nemours Kids Run the Bases following the game. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. That'll be next weekend at Citizens Bank Park. Odubel is 3 for 4. El Torito has made his way to South Florida.
He goes everywhere now.
Yeah, doesn't look that mean.
No.
He's not happy with that swing.
Well, this proves how important that changeup is. You know, you go from a 2-pitch pitcher now to a guy that throws a changeup as well. See if Borges tries to steal here. 0-2. And one thing that Odubel hits, you know, last year hit 30 doubles. He has that power to hit the ball to the gap. Do you take a chance with 2 strikes or try to steal second base?
Can you show anything there?
Little flinch.
That is one of the more remarkable numbers for Odubel. He has the home runs this year, but he only has 1 double. He's got a tremendous on-base percentage, but only the 1 double. Borges goes, pitch is taken outside, throw to second base is right on the money. And Borges is thrown out, trying to get to scoring position. Side is retired. No runs, no hits, and nobody left. Middle of the 8th. Phillies 4 and the Marlins 4. David Lowe will take over out in left field after pinch hitting for Tyler Goodell as we move to the bottom of the 8th inning. That is the only defensive change for the Phillies, aside from the fact that Hector's in the ball game. Hector Neris A 1.04 earned run average for Hector Neris. 27 strikeouts in 17 and a third innings. He has been as good a relief pitcher as you will find in Major League Baseball. 27 and 17 and a third.
The righties.
Just hitting 0-34. Well, he's on to face a tough part of the order with Martin Prado, Christian Yelich, and Giancarlo Stanton. Here at the bottom of the 8th inning. Fastball is in there. It's 0-1. Over to third base. Franco stays down on it. What a way. And this seems to be as good a time as any to send it over to Greg Murphy for the Major League Notebook. Murph?
All right, thank you very much, Tom. Well, 2 days ago, CC Sabathia had one of his best outings of the season for the Yankees, and then about 48 hours later, he ended up on the DL. The 35-year-old has a strained groin. It actually happened during that outing in the 4th inning. He ended up pitching 7 innings in that game of shutout baseball, but the injury was too much. The Yankees decided to put him on the disabled list. And this is the story that we told you we would be following, the Puerto Rican series, which was supposed to be happening between the Marlins and the Pirates at the end of this month. Well, they have decided they are going to change that venue. In fact, they are going to bring those games right here to Marlins Park because of the fear of the Zika virus. There's thousands of confirmed outbreaks in Puerto Rico right now, and the numbers that they are projecting by the end of the year are just absolutely staggering. So Major League Baseball and the Players Union decided, for the safety of the players and everybody involved, they are going to postpone that, play those games here between the Pirates and the Marlins, but they are not going to be heading to Puerto Rico this year, guys.
Yeah, and the shame of it is for the folks in Puerto Rico, they were really looking forward to the revenue and, of course, the overall interest in the game itself. But hopefully in the years to come, when that calms down, they'll be able to resume a series in Puerto Rico. Giancarlo Stanton, who is 0 for 2. He walked his last time up. Quick toss over to first base. Jim Salisbury from CSNPhilly.com has a cool story in today's website about Hector Neris and how he nearly signed with the Kansas City Royals when he was 20 years old. But fortunately for the Phillies, they were able to sign him before KC. And now he's establishing himself as a fairly dominant pitcher, at least through the first month of the season. Will it continue? I think a lot of it depends on his confidence, and if he can get that split to keep on tumbling, as Carlos Ruiz called it, a pitch that is as close to a knuckleball as you will see, because it does whatever it wants, but it moves, and it moves at 90. A high fly ball deep to left center field. It is long gone. Giancarlo Stanton has just clobbered a 2-run home run onto the concourse here at Marlins Park, and it's 6-4 Miami here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Wow. Our cold hard fact brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. He homers every 14 ABs, and I guess we've gotten to that point. That is his 7th home run in his last 11 games. Ryan Howard is among the active leaders. I don't know what they're going to say that ball went, but it went far. It went onto the concourse here at Marlins Park. Those people out there had to scatter.
The last thing those people thought coming to this game today was, I'm going to catch a baseball.
I wouldn't even try to catch it. That ball, I mean, it didn't even make a sound off the bat. that is some big-time power. Over to third. Franco dives. It's off his glove and into shallow left center field. It'll be a base hit. And with one out, the Marlins do have another base runner.
This is a powerful swing.
Well, that was a split that just didn't disappear. You got a guess for what? 60? I mean, if Yelich just went 460, whatever it was, 451 to right center field.
Well, because it's Stanton, it'll probably be about 475. Unfortunately, when you do make a mistake and leave that split finger up in the zone and it hangs a little bit, they go a long way.
Yeah, some people might miss it, but he's just too good of a hitter.
Well, when you make a mistake and throw a hanging split finger, you hope they miss it.
One ball, no strikes to Ozuna. Swing and a miss. See, he missed it. Now that wasn't hung. It disappeared.
But I've talked about it before. Don't fall in love with the split finger that you want to throw it every time. He throws it over, what did we say, 55, 56% of the time. He has a good fastball.
Popped up. And Darren Ruff will make the catch. Well, the estimated distance of that home run is 475 feet.
What'd I estimate?
700. You said 700 first.
475.
475 is the estimate. Is that what you said? I was hanging on your every word, Matt. Well, 67% of the time he's throwing that split, which has been a really good pitch.
Well, it has, but as you go into the season, the scouting report is he has a great split finger fastball.
Yeah.
Let's make him get it up in the zone a little bit. I just don't want to see Hector get away from. I want Hector to keep on throwing that fastball because he has a good fastball. He has good movement. You still have to trust your fastball. Trust me, you start painting that fastball inside and throwing it more often, people will get surprised with that split finger fastball.
In the dirt, gets away from Cameron Rupp.
And I'm not saying that because Stanton hit a bomb to left field. I'm just going by experience of facing guys that threw a lot of split finger fastballs. Kevin Appier used to throw a lot of splits. So you get to the point where now all of a sudden you pull your area where you're looking to hit, you just elevate it a little higher.
That ball went 475 feet. 2-0 to Chris Johnson. Outside 3-0. That's ball 4. So Johnson walks. And Miguel Rojas is coming up. Bob McClure going to the phone.
The home run to left field changed Neris the way he approaches pitching right now. He's usually a guy who gets on the mound, he gets the ball, he throws it. He gives up a home run to left field. So what? Hang a split finger. base hit to left field. Now all of a sudden he's going back to where he's
nibbling.
Thank you. And not trusting his fastball and not being able to throw a split finger. You start to think a little too much.
Rojas is 0 for 3, and he takes low. It's 1-0. Well, Bob McClure's coming out, and I think this is a good time, if not even before that pitch, but it's a good time to come out and talk to him. That's what I was saying, that he can be as good as he allows himself to be, because a lot of it is confidence, and we've seen that years past with Hector, and he has been as good as you will find in Major League Baseball so far out of the bullpen this year.
He has, but this is another area where, all right, if it doesn't work out, let's see how I can bounce back to the next hitter, or how am I going to bounce back tomorrow if I have to face a Stanton again? Am I going to shy away from throwing my split
that's a good
finger?
point.
Home runs happen. Sometimes you make a bad pitch. Sometimes you make a good pitch that get hit out of the ballpark. I just like seeing how people bounce back afterwards.
All right, so the meeting on the mound is over. And the count is 1 ball and no strikes to Miguel Rojas. Here in the bottom of the 8th inning, Phillies down by 2. Ichiro is on deck to pinch hit. David Phelps in the bullpen warming up. 1 ball and 1 strike. Darren Ruff came sneaking in behind Chris Johnson. Foul tip, and it's 2-2. Take their lead off first and second. He tried to bury that split there. Phillies in their half of the 9th inning will have the top of the order: Herrera, Cesar Hernandez, Maikel Franco. 21 pitch inning for Hector Neris.
Not used to seeing Hector throw 21 pitches, 9 balls, 12 strikes.
No. Popped him up. First base side, Darren Ruff is there, and the side is retired. However, Giancarlo Stanton has hit a 475-foot home run that has given the Marlins the lead. This is one of the longer home runs you will ever see. A 2-run bomb in the bottom of the 8th inning. So now we'll go to the 9th. The Phil's offense needs to come from behind yet again. Provides a full breakdown of tonight's series opener only on Cure Auto Insurance presents Phillies Postgame Live. Well, we go to the top of the 9th inning, and David Phelps will be called on to try to close it out for the Marlins instead of A.J. Ramos. Adeiny Echeverria is going to come on to play shortstop for the Marlins. Rojas moves from shortstop to second base. There's David Phelps. He has a save so far and one opportunity this year. Giancarlo Stanton's 2-run home run has given the Marlins the lead here in the top of the 9th inning. 7 home runs now in his last 11 games. Ramos has worked the last 3 games for the Marlins, so that's why he has today off. Here's Odubel Herrera. Odubel takes up high, 1 ball and no strikes. We always talk about, guys who come in to close games that aren't used to closing games. It's a totally different animal. For David Phelps, he has 2 career saves, 1 this year. Sometimes it affects them, sometimes it doesn't. You can sit here and say, that David Phelps isn't used to this situation, so it may affect him adversely, but who knows? Could be something that he's been longing for.
But why would it affect a pitcher? That's the question.
I think it's all mind game. But getting the first out would help. Rojas backpedaling at second, and he makes the catch, 1 away. And with 1 out, Cesar Hernandez is coming up.
The only reason why I said why would it bother a pitcher to come in to close the 9th inning? What's the difference between the 9th inning and the 6th inning or 7th inning and the 8th inning? The bottom line is you're coming in to save that inning.
Right. Hey.
If you think about it that way, instead of, okay, I got to save the game. No, you're saving the inning.
I'm with you, but I do, it affects people. Cesar takes a strike. It's 0-1. Cesar's 0 for 4. Phillies have left 8 tonight. That's the other part of the storyline here, is that they have 12 hits. They've left 8. They did a heck of a job coming back from a 4-0 deficit. Inside.
Yeah, the Marlins are 4 for 8 with runners in scoring position, and the Phillies are 3 for 9 with runners in scoring position. We need Cesar to get a knock or a walk. I'd rather see him get a knock so we get some confidence back a little bit.
Yeah, and bring Franco up with a chance to tie the game up. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Cesar Hernandez here in the top of the 9th. This will be the 8th pitch of this AB. taken a couple of those close pitches. Dan Iasonia has had a very good strike zone tonight. I don't think anybody can complain about it, his consistency at all. Really has done a nice job. Even the birthday boy would probably be okay with it. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Foul ball, and it remains 3-2. Broke his bat, ground ball back to the mound, and there are 2 outs. That bat was obliterated. And here comes Franco as they pick up the pieces. Phillies are 1-3 so far on this road trip. And there have been games that have certainly been within reach. Well, they're down to their final out here. Good swing. He's got a double tonight and an opposite field home run, and he's had some pretty good swings even beyond that.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that Michael's timing is back.
Yeah.
He's had some good, like you said, some good passes at the baseball coming through the zone. His balance is better.
Outside, 2-1. Swing and a miss, 2-2. He challenged him with a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Phelps, who originally came to the big leagues with the Yankees back in 2012. Came to the Marlins with Martin Prado before last year for Nate Eovaldi. The 2-2 pitch, fouled back. He has relieved in his career. He's also started in his career. Two and two. Foul ball by Franco. Trying to stay alive. Give Darren Ruff a chance. Odubel has 3 of the 12 hits for the Phillies tonight. Inside, ball 3.
Talk about how this game is fun and you cannot figure it out. There's a couple pitches that, and this at bat alone, that Mike Cal probably would have swung at 2 days ago when he was playing.
You're right. Fouled it away over the first base dugout.
But you keep on doing your work. You do your cage work. You hit off a tee, your soft toss. And you take a couple good swings. And next thing you know, you feel like you're locked in again. It seems like everything slows down. You see the ball really well out of the hand.
Swing and a miss. He got it with a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, and the ball game is over. The Marlins win it 6-4. They take game 1 of this 3-game series. A monster home run by Giancarlo Stanton against Hector Neris is the decisive blow. And for that, Stanton is our Chevrolet player of the game. One of 2 home runs hit by the Marlins tonight. The other one was by Christian Yelich, who's right behind him. His only went 451, but our delivery of the game is one of the longer deliveries that you will ever see in a Major League Baseball game.
The game in the 8th inning, Hector Neris delivers a hanging forkball. And Stanton did not miss that. Crushed him his 10th home run of the year to give the lead. That's all they needed right there. The man has been hot. He's been hitting a lot of home runs, and that's your W.B. Mason delivery of the game.
So the Marlins take game 1. The Phils are now 1-4 on this road trip. They lose it tonight 6-4. We'll be back to wrap it up right after this.